What's up, guys? Welcome back. Kara Corey here, registered dietitian. If you are new here, then thank you for joining me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you end up liking this video, and stick around. We do a lot of cool things on this channel. Due to my background being a dietitian, I do love kind of giving you guys the encouragement and support for those of you who need it, maybe can't afford to work with a dietitian, and I also take you along in my own personal health and fitness journey here on this channel. For today's video, we're gonna do something that's near and dear to my heart, and if you had previously watched my video regarding the future of this channel, one of the things I set out to do this year with some of my videos was being more purposeful with some of them and giving you guys content that I feel like can help you and guide you, and giving you guys ideas that you can actually implement, some actual applications that you can take away and implement. And something that's been a passion of mine for probably the past, I'd say 4 years now, really since entering the bodybuilding world and kind of being on the other side of it now, if you will, is just my passion for helping people have a better relationship with food. And it's something I struggled with for a period of time. So it's something I don't know that it'll ever be perfect, but it's definitely in such a better place for me. And it's something I see every single day between people I interact with and how they talk about themselves, how they talk about others, how they comment on what people eat. And it's just a passion of mine to help people improve that relationship with their food, and then improve the relationship with themselves, because truly, before you can really set any high goals with your health, your weight loss, your journey, you really have to improve some of that talk that occurs up here. So for today's video, I did want to give you guys some of my top tips on how to start working towards improving your relationship with food. A lot of these tips I'm giving you guys are ones I've implemented that have assisted me. And I get asked this all the time. How do I do it? How have I been able to be more balanced and live a healthy lifestyle? So I want to share those with you guys today, and I hope they help. And just know that, everyone's kind of at a different stage of their journey. Some people are on one end of the continuum, maybe struggling with eating disorders. Some of you are really in your flow and balanced. Others are struggling with emotional eating, binge eating. You may be all over the place. So I give you guys these tips as general guidance and help, and hopefully this helps you in one way or another, but always know to reach out for help. This channel is here to support you guys as much as I can, but if you're really struggling, be sure you reach out to someone and reach out to a professional who can assist you. So I did write some of my tips down, so I'm gonna kind of refer to those so I don't forget. But tip number 1 is stop punishing yourself for what you've ate. And I do have to remind myself of this one on occasion, not so much anymore, but this used to be a big trigger for me, feeling like I would eat something that I thought was quote unquote bad or forbidden, and then really just punishing myself in a way afterwards with making myself feel bad. You shouldn't have ate that. Why would you do that? Or you're going to have to go to the gym an extra day this week, or you're going to need to run an extra 3 miles now because you ate this, or, just really the negative self-talk. It's got to stop. It has to stop. If you spent your weekend eating pizza and wings, and you went out and you had some drinks and it wasn't the healthiest of weekends, okay, well, it's gonna be all right. Move on from it. That's literally all I'm gonna say to you. The more you punish yourself, it does you no good. All it does is increase your stress, right? It increases that stress within you, which is then just gonna increase your cortisol, then making you that much more unhealthy, So a lot of what we need to do is up here in our heads and how we're talking to ourselves and how we're treating ourselves. So if you in the moment decide that that's what you want to do, you want to go have a burger and fries, or you want to go out for ice cream, or you just want to not really worry about your food choices while you're on vacation, then own it. Just own it and let it be what it is, because the punishing yourself does nothing good for you. Nothing good comes of it. So it needs to stop. And as soon as those thoughts, and I'm not saying those thoughts may not come into your head, they may. So as they come into your head, acknowledge them and say, okay, but I'm not going to feel that way. I committed to eating that way this weekend. I'm still here. I'm alive. I'm thriving. Moving on. Tip number 2 is practicing more mindful eating. And this can be very challenging in the busy world we live in. I'm guilty of this myself. Especially when I'm at work, I tend to eat while I'm working, and when I do that, I'm not really able to, number one, enjoy my food as much, because my attention isn't on the food. My attention is kind of all over the place. You're just not as able to be in tune with your body and what it needs, how you're feeling, how the food's tasting, when you need to stop. It's kind of just like when you sit down to watch a movie with a bucket of popcorn. It's real easy to eat that whole bucket of popcorn because it's really mindless. Your attention is just on the movie and not really how much you're eating and do you really need it. So try to be more mindful with your eating. Also, eating while driving. Number 1, terribly dangerous. Number 2, there's nothing mindful about it. So being able to plan your meals accordingly, where you set the cell phone down, you're not eating in front of the TV, you're not eating while working. You deserve that time. And I have to remind myself of this too when it feels like, but no, I could get more done if I just multitask. I really think multitasking is evil. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think we should be rewarded because we're better multitaskers, even though that's what 2020 asks of us. Instead, take one thing at a time, eating included, and put your attention to it and be in the moment with it. And with that, you'll find that you enjoy your food more, you slow down, you appreciate it more, and you're more easily able to really just know what your body needs and doesn't need. We so easily lose sight of that. It's very easy to lose sight of how much does one really eat. I hear that a lot. I don't even know how to eat anymore. I don't know how much is too much. It's a challenging thing, and it's something that we are born with. We are born as intuitive eaters, and we lose that over time. So trying to get back to the nature of when you were a baby or a child, when you spit the bottle out because you were done, you got your nourishment that you needed. Trying to get back to that. When that baby was drinking its bottle or its mama's booby, it wasn't doing nothing else but loving on that milk, and that's all it was doing. It was like, I'm living my best life, sucking on my mama's titty, drinking milk, getting nourished, and stopping when you're done. So trying to get back to that place in your life, it's not easy. It's not. It's going to take some work. It's going to push you outside of your comfort zone. But I encourage you to try that, and maybe not put that expectation on yourself that you have to do it each and every meal. If you find you're never someone that practices mindful eating, but at least set out to do it a couple times a week or once a day, depending on where you're at currently. Have gratitude is my next tip, and I know I sound like a lame ass when I say that, but we so easily take for granted what we have. I will fully admit to that. I can fully forget how fortunate I am to have a kitchen filled with food, to be able to afford to go grocery shopping 3 times a week because I'm such a foodie. Practice that gratitude when you're sitting down to eat a meal. You never know when it'll be your last meal. I don't mean to sound morbid. I'm just saying we have to take each and every moment. We need to take each moment and not take it for granted. We need to really be present in the moment, appreciate it, appreciate the food and what it's doing for you, appreciate the fact that, you're fortunate to have that food in front of you, and just really try to think about the food in a different aspect. And yeah, it sounds kind of lame, But again, I challenge you to try this out, because when you actually do it, if you just take a couple minutes before you eat your next meal after you watch this video, and I want you to just sit down, and whether you just think it in your mind or write it down in a notebook, or just take a few moments for why you're grateful for this meal and what it's going to do for you. And I'd be interested to know how you feel after eating that meal. Do you feel more satisfied? Do you feel like you slowed down a bit more while you ate? You kind of took the time to chew, to enjoy, to be more mindful, as I spoke about. And did you feel more satisfied afterwards? How did you feel after that meal? Did you feel a sense of satisfaction, or did you feel a sense of peace, or did you feel guilty? I mean, just kind of pay attention to your overall energy, mood, and things like that. And I think you will notice a difference and start to have a different appreciation for your food, versus looking at it as good or bad, versus looking at it as something you need to feel guilty about. Start to look at it and truly form a different relationship with it, and be grateful for what it's doing for you. That leads me into my next tip, which is just enjoying your food. Food is meant to be enjoyed. It should not be a guilty type experience. It shouldn't be uncomfortable. And again, I'm not to say, depending on where you're at in that continuum, certain people have lots of anxiety around food. That's very, very common. I've seen that a lot. People get very anxious in certain situations. People don't even know how to eat anymore in today's world, because fad diets are all over the place. So it can be a very stressful situation. I'm not taking away from that whatsoever, but learn to just have more enjoyment for your meals. Take away that talk of, I shouldn't be eating this. Again, I go back to one of my favorites, a burger and fries. Because sometimes your girl just needs a burger and fries, we all do. We all have those meals we just feel like we need. So if you're going to eat it, then don't have that talk going through your head like, I shouldn't be eating this, I shouldn't be eating this, I'm going to regret this. Try to focus more on, no, this tastes good. This is one of the best burgers I've ever ate. Or if it tastes like crap, obviously don't eat it. But, learn to have that enjoyment with food again, versus picking it apart, thinking about, and I'm not saying don't ever think about calories. You do need to think about your health. But there's a fine line between being obsessive with your health and just learning to enjoy it a little bit too. This next one may be one of the hardest ones, and that's stopping the all or nothing mindset. And I feel like, in a way, the restrictive dieting patterns really kind of lend themselves towards this. When I was following a set meal plan, for instance, or a diet plan for bodybuilding preps or for weight loss, you get into that mindset where it's like, at one point I remember thinking, well, a piece of fruit isn't on my diet. So if I'm going to cheat, which I just don't even like using that term at all when it comes to eating, but if I'm going to cheat, well, instead of just having an apple, I might as well go big or go home. I might as well just, if I'm not being 100%, I might as well just go all in. And that's just the absolute wrong approach you need to take. It really just festers that negative relationship with food. So I encourage you to let that go, to just be at peace with it. If you decide you're going to have a donut for breakfast, then I hope you enjoyed that donut. Go back to the last tip, enjoy the donut, and then go to this tip and move on with it. Be at peace with it and move on. Just because you ate a donut for breakfast doesn't mean you can't have some grilled chicken with squash and Brussels sprouts and berries, and do you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean you can't eat healthy the rest of the day. It's not a waste. Just because you have one food that in your mind maybe isn't as healthy or as nourishing, get rid of that thought. That's really where the no foods are forbidden needs to come in, to really improve your relationship with food, getting rid of that mindset. Yes, some are going to be healthier than others. Some are going to assist you differently than others. But it's never a waste of a day Your body will be able to handle it. So you've got to get rid of that thinking. You've got to throw it out the window, because that is a vicious cycle that will not only toy with your health, honestly, but it truly with your mind and your self-esteem even. In building on that, the next tip is really kind of giving yourself more positive affirmations. As I mentioned, there's a lot of what we need to change with how we speak to ourselves and that internal dialogue, if you do have one. Mine is very loud, but I know some people don't have one as much, so it really depends on the person. But say you do decide to eat that donut, really think about what you're saying to yourself in that moment. And something I like to use with my clients is, when you do have those weekends or those days where you eat those foods that you're feeling some kind of way about, remind yourself that your body can handle this. Your body is incredible. It's amazing what your body can do, what it can go through. It can handle eating pizza and wings and drinking a beer and having some donuts. And think about, this is just going to really nourish my body. It's going to nourish all my body cells. Even if it's not the most nourishing choice in your mind, your body is going to accept that nourishment and it's going to use it. And so start thinking about things in a different context instead of beating yourself up for it. This next tip kind of goes together. One is, there's no such thing as a perfect eater. And I remind people of this all the time, because I'm here on the YouTubes as a dietitian doing full days of eating. I 100% open myself up for criticism in terms of what I eat and how I eat, how I balance it all. I show you guys my grocery hauls. So yeah, I get my share of, you're a dietitian and you eat that, you shouldn't be eating that, you shouldn't be doing that. There's no such thing, you guys, as a perfect eater. I need to get it tattooed on my face or something. I don't know. There's no such thing. And that leads me to stop comparing yourself as well, because that's another biggie that comes into play here. That's people comparing each other to how the other person eats. This one kind of hit me when I go back to my childhood. Being a small kid, I was a very small kid. I grew up very petite. And I could eat a lot, and I still can eat a lot. And I get those comments from people like, wow, you eat a lot of food, or roles reversed, commenting on someone else who doesn't eat that much. It really does no good for anyone. So try to kind of hold back from those types of comments, because everyone's different. It's not a contest. I guess unless you're doing bodybuilding, but even then, each and every body is going to have different needs, and what one person does is not going to yield the same results as someone else. So why compare to someone else? But that's what we do. It's really hard not to, but I urge you not to, just because you guys, even when you watch my full day of eatings, I don't do those because I want you guys to compare your eating habits to mine. I do those because I hope to give you guys some good ideas, some different ideas for how to build your meals, why I eat them, how I time them. I try to give you more of the education behind it versus just hi, this is my lunch. It's not meant for comparison. We're all so different. So try to remind yourself of that, and the quicker you do that, remind yourself there's no perfect way here. It's about 100% about you and you only. My next tip is keep it simple, stupid. Wise man once said that to me, and it totally applies to your food. I've seen so many people get caught up with wanting to be more focused on their health, but then feeling like they can't go into any social situations. What am I going to do if my friends want to come over for the Super Bowl? Or what am I going to do if there's a birthday party or I'm going on vacation? And it doesn't have to be difficult, you guys. The only thing that makes it difficult is when you make it difficult. There's always a way to make a healthy choice. There's always a way to make a better choice or make the choice you feel comfortable with. There's always options. No one's ever forcing you, unless you allow them to. No one's forcing you to ever eat a certain way if you go out to eat, or if you hang out with your friends, or if you go to a barbecue. There's always options. So don't make it so difficult. That's what kind of builds up that anxiety and stress in social situations. If you need to plan and bring food with you, okay. If you need to plan ahead and take a look at menus to make sure there's options for you, that's there too. But there's no need for you to not be social. Don't make it so complicated. It doesn't need to be. It's 2020. I don't care where you go. I feel like you can find a healthy option. You can make any food fit. All right, another important tip, this one was important for me with kind of getting myself back to balance, is doing kind of an emotional eating assessment. If you have tendencies to be an emotional eater, maybe you don't even know that you do, but kind of giving yourself that check to say, why am I eating right now? And giving yourself a few minutes. Eating doesn't always have to be a quick decision. I know we feel the pressure too when people are like, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? You can take a few minutes and ask yourself if you're really truly hungry. Do I need to eat right now? Am I eating just because I am stressed the heck out and I don't know how else to channel this emotion except into food because it makes me feel good? I know how to do that. I know how to do that right. Or are you truly hungry? It's not to say you're never going to eat for emotional reasons, but if the pattern is there that you are day in, day out handling emotions through eating, odds are there's some other stuff going on there that you probably need to work through. Sometimes it's good to just, if you're not sure, sometimes people just aren't sure yet, right? We lose our ability to know whether we're hungry or not. So I don't know. Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Now I'm stressed out trying to even figure out what the answer to this is. Then give yourself 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes. Take a walk if you're able to. Give yourself 10 minutes to read a book. Continue working on some work. Do whatever it is you need to do. Listen to some music. Take a hot bath and come back to it. Have you forgotten you were even going to eat? Or are you like, oh my God, I'm truly hungry. It's time. Give yourself some time, and not everything has to be a rash decision. You're going to have to put in some effort here if you really want to improve your relationship with food. So it's going to require you to take a couple steps back. It's going to require you to say, maybe later, or sure, I'll take that slice of pizza, but maybe you don't eat it at that moment in time. And really ask yourself some questions and start to have that internal dialogue with yourself to better understand what's going on. Or do you now recognize that every time you get stressed, every time you get sad, every time you feel lonely, that's how you're coping with it? It's, the first step is recognizing it, and then you go from there with figuring out how do you handle those emotions in other ways. Last but certainly not least is kind of recognizing and understanding that this is it. We only have one body. We only have this one vessel to protect and to live in for the rest of our lives till we hopefully grow very old and itty bitty and can move around and still feel good and have a great quality of life. It kind of goes back to having gratitude when you sit down to eat, but really thinking about food beyond just, let me eat, this tastes good, and really being mindful of taking care of yourself. Like when I talk about mindful eating, I think people get mixed up when you talk about mindful eating or intuitive eating. It means you eat whatever the hell you want with no regard. And that's not the case. Your health still plays into all of this, and it really, really needs to. So I'm not saying you eat pizza every single day of the week, but because you were mindful about it and you didn't feel guilty, it's all good. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you still do have to think about your body, your internal functions, how you're feeling every day, how things make you feel, and how you want to live your life. Like, I think about it more and more the older I get, like how I want my body to feel as I age, and that's important to me. And I get it, when you're in your 20s, like you're just not able to think that through because you feel like, you just have all this life ahead of you, which you do, and same in your 30s. But like the older you get, the more you just start to think about that stuff and appreciate your body for what it can do, appreciate just being here on this earth. So remember that too when you're making decisions about food. It will help improve your relationship with food, but it gives you kind of a different perspective on making food choices. So just try to kind of slip that reminder into your day on occasion that this is it, guys. We have this one body. What are you going to do to really nourish it and feel good in it and have it, have it really do for you what it can, perform well and give back to you. So you need to give it a little love so it can give back to you as well. All right, guys, those are all of my top tips for you on starting to build a healthier relationship with food. I hope you did find these tips helpful. I'm sure some of them maybe hit home for you. Feel free to share any of your tips or tricks in the comments below, or if you want to discuss any of your struggles below. If not, you can always reach out to me. I do offer coaching as well, karacoreyfitlife@gmail. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you did find it helpful and that you can implement some of these thought processes, and I hope they help you guys the way they helped me. Hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed again, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.